G-Man Boxing. Do you know what I mean? Every single live he donates. I see him on other lives donating. He's got the bag on it.
Alright people, midweek report time. Boy, do we have a lot to talk about in this one. Let's start with the breaking news. Well, the day old breaking news. Let's start with Conor Benn and Chris Eubank Jr. Now, the report I originally read stated that the catchweight for this fight, which was announced yesterday, O2 Arena, 8th of October, that's going to happen and it's going to be at a catchweight of 156 pounds. However, now it's not going to make much difference, but I just find this interesting. So Dan Raphael has stated, the picture of health that he is, I always got to chuck that in there, has reported that this fight catchweight will actually be at 157 pounds. It's claimed that if one of the fighters comes in overweight, then there'll be a fine of 100,000, well, it says dollars, so what would that be in pounds? About 90 grand, give or take. So it's going to be $100,000 for every pound they come in overweight. Now, you'd imagine with Conor Benn, that's probably not going to be an issue. With Eubank Jr., Eubank Jr. I was going to go on BoxRec and have a look through his weights at middleweight, but the way BoxRec is nowadays, it's so, that's the definition of it. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. The way they've changed BoxRec is a joke. But 157 pounds, it's not uncommon for middleweights to come in 2 pounds under the weight limit. You know, if they doing their weights, maybe they feel as though maybe their scales aren't exactly accurate, they come in 2 pounds under. You'd imagine that 157 shouldn't be that big an issue. You know, it's 3 pounds above 154 pounds. So you'd imagine for Eubank Jr. shouldn't be that much of an issue. Depends if they have a rehydration clause in there or not. That's the interesting thing, because this article here doesn't specify anything about any rehydration clause. So again, as to whether or not that's happening in terms of rehydration, I don't know. But 157 pounds is the reported weight that this fight's going to be agreed at, a catch weight. And, you know, I've had my 2 cents on catch weights. Personally, I find the rehydration clause more an issue, more something I'd like to see an end of than the catch weight. Having said that, I don't mind catch weights for fights like this where it's a non-title fight, right? But when you're talking about guys Canelo weight back in the day, when you're having a guy at middleweight defend his middleweight world titles at 155 pounds, I know if you missed weight they wouldn't do anything. The sanctioning body said they wouldn't do anything, but the fact that you have to make 155 pounds, otherwise there's finance, to me that just made no sense. I didn't like seeing it for title fights. In terms of just a non-title fight, nondescript fight, I really don't see too much of a problem with catch weights, truth be told. Again, it's the rehydration clause is the bit where I really take a bit of issue to. Now, in terms of this fight, look, I said it yesterday, I see why they're taking it, and I'm sure promoted correctly and getting the dads involved. You may the zone would need to do the zone would need to do the whole 9 hogs. They'd need to do the full Monty for this one. They would need to get a gloves are off with Eubank Sr. and Nigel Benn. They would need to get a gloves are off with Conor Benn and Eubank Jr. They would need to show even highlights, specifically the second fight wasn't great, but highlights of Benn. I don't know how they would would they have copyright issues with that, but something where they could show Benn Eubank 1 and 2. The rivalry. They would have to build the rivalry of the dads and intertwine that with their sons' rivalry. Because there's not really been much of a rivalry with the sons. They've been separated apart in weight divisions. So it's not like both guys have been, clamouring for one another's name over the last few years. But if the zone want to market the hell out of this, they need to do stuff like that. And a gloves are off between Benn and Eubank, the seniors. That would be interesting. I wouldn't mind seeing that. Chris Eubank Jr. or Senior is just tremendous. He is just... I would have loved to have been old enough in the 90s. I think when he lost to Steve Collins, I was 1. I would have loved to, and when he was in his kind of like heyday, I wasn't even born. So I would have loved to have seen him in his prime as a boxer fan, because I think I would have liked him. There's certain kind of fighters who are a bit arrogant, a bit smug, I don't particularly like, but Eubank Sr., even now, I find him entertaining as hell. I do. I find him entertaining as hell. And having him in this build-up would help exponentially, in my opinion. Because, all talking aside about the actual fight, look, the fight is what it is. I'm fairly sure the Eubank Jr is going to beat Conor Benn relatively straightforward. But the Zone are going to want to build the holy hell out of this. And in a way, if you think about it, right, putting the Triple G Canelo fight on pay-per-view, but giving an extra month of subscription, this is going to coincide with this fight. So I would imagine they're going to, if people are buying the Canelo Triple G fight as a standalone, so they're not already subscribed with the Zone, they're going to probably plug the hell out of this fight. Certainly on the ads during that card on the UK feed, maybe not on the US feed, but certainly in the UK one, they're going to plug this fight to hell if they're smart, because people maybe just joining for the Canelo fight, maybe just don't want to see Canelo Triple G, like, oh wait a minute, Eubank Jr, Conor Benn is on this? They might say, I'm subscribed. Oh well, I may as well stick around. There you go, another pay-per-view. Might add another month on top of that. So if the Zone work this right, they could do well with this. And this isn't me saying I'm for the Zone pay-per-view. Personally, look, you got to be realistic. I was kind of hoping that they would stick true to their word and it wouldn't be pay-per-view. It would be the end of pay-per-view. But the way it's been, you kind of got to, what can you do? It's kind of inevitable almost after a while that they would go down this road. But if the Zone want to help themselves, further themselves on it, certainly in the UK, they need to really do a good job on this one. They really need to do a good job marketing this event, everything with it really. So that's my thoughts on that. The other news that broke today is October. It's shaping up to be a busy next few weeks, lads. It really is. From AJ Usyk, it seems like we're going to be busy for a while to come, because it's announced here that it's reported likely that October 15th, Barclays Center in New York City, Deontay Wilder versus Robert Helenius. Wilder making his comeback. Now, him against Helenius, and I've heard reports that Frank Sanchez is going to be on the undercard. I know he's not exactly the most fan-pleasing style, but I rate Frank Sanchez. I've said it once, I'll say it again. I think he's a real dark horse. Just because he puts you to sleep doesn't mean you should sleep on him. Frank Sanchez is legit. Telling you, he's legit. But this fight here, Wilder versus Helenius, if Wilder has an ounce of what he had pre-Fury, he knocks out Robert Helenius in a couple of rounds. However, Wilder has had 2 bad losses where he's taken a lot of punishment in both fights. So part of me is thinking, how is he going to be, and how is his chin going to be? Like, he's not got a bad chin, does Deontay Wilder, but Helenius can really crack. Yeah, that's pretty much all he can do. He's as slow as molasses. He's about as graceful as an elephant in there. He's so easy to hit. He's not got a particularly good chin, so he should be straightforward for Wilder. However, he can bang. Oh, he can punch with the best of them. He could probably punch with either hand heavy, whereas Wilder is just that right hand, fast, straight down the middle, boom. So it could be a bit, like, if Wilder has enough left, he should be beating Robert Helenius. Straightforward enough. He really should be straightforward enough. He should be beating Robert Helenius. However, as I said, if he has really regressed, especially in the chin department, then potentially, yes, we could see an issue with Deontay Wilder in this fight. I wouldn't imagine we will, and it'd be interesting to see Wilder back. As I said, I love watching Wilder. I'm happy to watch Deontay Wilder. I think he's one of my favourites to watch anyway. Really like watching Deontay Wilder. In terms of other news, and again, I was talking about the next few months being busy. Well, November 12th or November 19th, wait for this, people, Errol Spence versus Terence Crawford, undisputed, reportedly near completion. It's claimed the PBC have started planning the undercard. Boom. I don't know how anyone couldn't be happy about this. Crawford, Spence, yes. Man, I really want to see that fight. That fight right there. Honestly, I'm probably going to be more excited for that fight than I will be for Joshua Usyk too. Seriously, I love Spence Crawford, and you can tell by what I'm talking about. I'm like, yes, Spence Crawford. I hope this is real. This is legit, Spence, Crawford. Oh man, even just talking about it, like I start smiling. I just think I'm struggling. Going to my head, Crawford, in terms of who I think will win. But Jesus, Spence, Crawford, man, I hope the boxing gods are looking down on us and we get that fight. I really do. I love that fight. Styles will gel together well. I think it's tremendous. They're both exceptional fighters. The cream of the crop at welterweight. There's no ifs or buts. So yeah, man, I'm excited about that. I'm definitely excited about that. So we'll talk a bit more on the Tyson Fury situation with Derek Chisora. So obviously he mentioned that Chisora was to sign the contract's career high payday. He reportedly stated that he offered Chisora a fight contract, the company that puts on Chisora or his tour events, if they can reach a deal for December, Principality Stadium in Cardiff. Now I believe Bob Arum chimed in on that, and he said Fury Chisora 3, of course not, nothing. What are we, crazy? Everybody is waiting for Usyk versus Joshua fight, and then we'll explore whether it's foreseeable to do the complete unification. So Bob Arum is shutting that down. And look, I think that's just, I've said it once, I'll say it again. I said it at the time I did the video. That seems to me just Fury and Chisora having a bit of banter with the boxing fans. I think both guys are relatively close together in terms of, they seem to get on. And I reckon that both guys just looking to get their names in the headlines. And someone pointed out, and it's an interesting one as well, because Mayweather would kind of do this the odd time as well. I remember a lot of people speculate that one of the reasons why he fought McGregor when he did in 2017 was because Canelo Triple G was taking a good bit of the shine off that. I wouldn't surprise me if... And actually, speaking of, just before I was saying, Fury and Wilder, when they had their fight first announced, they announced that, I think the same day as Joshua Povetkin. And I reckon that it's something similar. Fury is just trying to take a bit of shine off the AJ Usyk situation. Or maybe Team Fury, Bob Arum, who knows. But that fight ain't going to happen. I don't think anyone wants to see it. I don't know if Chisora, would they even give him a title shot? I mean, the WBC, I say the WBC, of course they would. The WBC, if they thought it would make them money, would name Blind Man Bob as mandatory challenger for Tyson Fury if he brought enough money to the table. And I'm sure Mauricio Sullivan would say, we believe, and he'd say after, short-sighted of us, ha ha ha. But seriously, he would. He's that kind of guy. He would do anything for a bit of money. He's a complete scumbag, is Sullivan. Really is. Teofimo Lopez, he's got a fight coming up this weekend, lads. We'll have a look at that. It's going to be interesting to see how he looks. But he has stated on George Kambosos, I still believe I won that fight. Whether people call me deluded or not, I am the greatest of my time and my era for that reason. If that makes me deluded, then so be it. Well, you didn't win that fight. And you were competitive, but you didn't beat George Kambosos. He won the fight pretty comfortably in my eyes. And, I don't think his father helped him, telling him how far ahead he was and that he just needed to knock him out. He was so much better and that he won the fight 10-2. Yeah, all complete BS. If Teofimo Lopez wants to progress in his career, wants to be the best version of himself, tell his dad to shut the F up. Simple as. Because his dad's causing part of the problem. Get Joey Gamache back in. Don't listen to your dad obviously believes in your ability. I get that. But he is talking absolute nonsense in between rounds to you, making you believe you're winning a fight where you've been dropped, you've been bloodied, you were getting out boxed for large parts, you were getting out worked. Yeah, look. He didn't win the fight. We'll see how he looks in this next fight and we'll see how that goes. We're not too far away from AJ Usyk. Alexander Usyk actually had Amir Khan in his gym, funny enough. Let's see here. So Usyk was interviewed by, is it Prayer Match UK? And he said, Anthony Joshua is a strong guy and a strong boxer, and he cannot be written off in any way. In the rematch, he will be different. He will prepare different, and I will do that too. So Usyk really preparing. Perhaps if there were another 30 seconds or a minute of the 12th round, Anthony Joshua would have been knocked down. But I don't think about it anymore because it's just a guess. It happened as it happened. I boxed 12 rounds. I won. And there's a picture of Usyk. He is looking in tremendously good shape. I think that it's going to be interesting to see what he weighs. Mid 220s. It's probably a safe bet between 225, 230. Hopefully he's not into 230s, or like well into 230s. But if he's in the kind of mid to late 220s, I think that's a good weight for him. In terms of what he's saying there, he's kind of implying almost that there's more in the tank for him, and that if he had a bit more time in that 12th round, if he really stepped on it, he could have dropped AJ. It seemed as though he was on the verge of at least dropping AJ. If not stopping him, certainly dropping him. And look, I think that we will see him. Well, we may see it. It's hard to honestly, like with AJ, it's so hard to know. But I think we will see an improved AJ. But saying that doesn't mean we're not going to see an improved Usyk. I think we're going to see an improved Usyk as well. And I think that this fight is so intriguing. It's so interesting that I'm looking forward to it. I can't wait for this fight. I'm obviously going to talk about keys to victory. We'll get a prediction video out this weekend. I'm really looking forward to AJ Usyk. Let's just put it like that. AJ Usyk 2, Usyk AJ 2. I can't wait for this fight. To me, it's going to be an intriguing one. It's going to be a really, really, really intriguing one. And I can't wait. We're obviously, just letting you know, we're going to do a live watch along. Obviously, couldn't get out to Saudi Arabia. Didn't even try, truth be told. I just knew it would cost me an arm and a leg. But hopefully that means we can get to some events up and coming. And I've already booked flights for Benn Eubank. So another little trip out to the O2, which is good. Hopefully we can get some credentials for that. We'll really have a good time with that. But that's pretty much it. I don't think there's anything else that I can really talk about in this. As some of you may have seen, I'm just throwing it out there. If anything comes of it, happy days. If not, hey, we can keep going. But I did tweet and I did leave it on the community tab that at the minute now, obviously I've got ExpressVPN on board, which is great. But I'm also looking to branch out with some more sponsors. And if anyone knows anyone, has contacts with anyone, anything like that who could help support the channel, because obviously being at that event in July, it was something else. I'm not gonna lie, it was something else. And I was like, I need to keep doing this. I need to keep going to these events. I need to get this channel up off the ground. Like, it's been doing so good. I've got great fans. I've got great viewers. Everything. Nearly 9,000 subs. Pushing for 10. But I don't want to limit it to just me sitting here watching shows. And I want to be at them. I love interviewing fighters. I just interview them as I would anyone. Like, I don't really have questions for them per se written up ready to go. I just kind of do it as is, a bit like how I do these, and I love doing it. So obviously the goal is to get to as many as I can, and you know, for that obviously I'm hoping to get some help along the way with some sponsors. So if anyone does know anyone who wants to or is interested, I would really, really appreciate that. In terms of other news, let's have a look-see on boxing scene. I think I've gone this. I think I've not done enough for this one. Yeah, Hearn disagrees. This is an interesting one. Hearn disagrees that Benn Eubank is comparable to Brook Golovkin. I agree with Eddie Hearn on that one. I do agree with Eddie Hearn on that one, to be honest with you. I'll tell you why. Because I've said it once, I'll say it again. No one forced Kell Brook to take that. And again, no one forced Conor Benn to take this fight either. But with Kell Brook, he'd been calling for Triple G. You know, he called for Triple G after Kevin Bizier. You know, he wasn't someone who was... And right, Kell Brook had other options. You know, I've said it once, I'll say it again. He just looked down that road where there was a guy holding a load of bags, instead of looking down that road where way further down the road there was a guy holding some bags, but you would have had longer to go. But the road wouldn't have had as many bumps in the way after as that one did. Because he could have fought Jesse Vargas for a lot less money. He would have beaten Jesse Vargas. He would have then had two versions of a world title at welterweight. Would have put him in the bargaining position, right, for fights against Keith Thurman. Bear in mind, Jesse Vargas didn't fight Kell Brook. Who did he fight? Manny Pacquiao. Kell Brook, and that was Pacquiao when he still had well, he always had a name, but it was a Pacquiao who still had a bit more of a sway. So you're telling me that Kell Brook, right, going into the Triple G fight, taking that Triple G fight, if he'd have fought Jesse Vargas and beaten him, there was potentially could have fought Manny Pacquiao and made every bit as much money. And I would have given Kell Brook a good shot in that fight. So if he'd beaten Pacquiao, imagine where he would have gone to then. So when people say like it's comparable, I say that Kell Brook had other options. He didn't have to go down that road. You know, he had options that were at the time a bit less money, but they could have led to greener pastures. With Triple G, it was a case of if you win, happy days, but it's a big, big ask. And if you lose, I mean, what kind of damage could he do? So when people say like Eddie Hearn is to blame, I say Kell Brook has to shoulder the blame for that as well. You know, he has to. I mean, it's not like Eddie Hearn put a gun to his head, like that scene in The Simpsons where they have, what's his name, Tom Jones, where, you know, Smithers has a gun to his back saying, just keep waving, just keep waving. It's not like that. It wasn't like that. You know, Kell Brook had a choice. He could have said no, but he didn't. He took the Triple G fight, and that's what happened. So when people say, like, you know, oh, it's Brook, Triple G all over again. Well, Eubank's not a champion. This isn't for a title. Eubank Jr. certainly ain't Triple G. He's not that destructive. And yeah, I think this is just more for money. And I think that Eddie Hearn obviously looked at welterweight and thought, well, I could step him up. I could step Conor Benn up, but there's a pretty good chance he gets beaten and doesn't make as much money as this fight. So I'm going to take the money fight. If he loses, he's lost to a guy. He's gone up 2 weight divisions. He's not a big welterweight, so we can rebuild him. We can give him a few easy fights to come back to and then see how he gets on. We can rebuild. We're good. So I can see why he's made this fight. I just don't really think it's going to be. I think the build up will be better than the fight. Put it like that. I think Eubank's going to win this fight fairly straightforward. But I think the build up is going to be better than the actual fight. Put it like that. So I will think we are good now. I think I've gone over the old 20-minute hump, which is always the goal I try and get with these, over the 20-minute hump. The little marker, because a report should be extended. So let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Smash the like button if you could. I appreciate all you people locking in. Always enjoy doing these. You know me, I love talking about boxing. Hope you enjoy it, people. Smash the like button if you could. Subscribe, of course, if you haven't already. People, I'll talk to you. Peace.